Hello, happy Friday. It's Friday again. Can you believe it? This is ridiculous. These weeks are just unbelievable. Anyway, I think I've gone on about the unbelievableness of the weeks a little bit much, but that's okay because we have 0 viewers so far. All right, I'm just going to turn on extra light here. There we go. All right, welcome back to Investing Book Club. As you know, we do this every week. The idea is to I guess not necessarily, definitely not to provide financial advice, but to get together, share knowledge, share ideas. Um, there's a lot of wealth created in these sorts of markets, these volatile, um, some would say scary times. There's great opportunities. So it's a matter of are you the one who's going to take advantage of those opportunities or not? And of course, we don't want to be risking craziness, but reading books like this can inspire us, can call us into action, can help us get over past mistakes. And so, yeah, for me, I'm just reviewing these books that have had profound impacts on my development. And if you get something from it, great. If you can contribute to me, great. If you can contribute to others. This is like a community exercise. It's not. It's not like I don't want to just kind of deliver my thoughts and feelings. If it can be interactive, that's even better. So yeah, let's have some fun together. I try to do this every single Friday. So yeah, let's get into the book. I'm going to share my screen, keeping it to 45 minutes because the days are just getting busier and busier. So yeah, 45 minutes is plenty of time for studying on a Friday morning, I think. So where we got to last time was Ooh, okay. Thanks for watching, by the way, everybody who's joining in now. Really appreciate it. Feel free to say hi. Yeah, well, where we're up to is we're on chapter 5, and we talk about the rich invent money. And we were summarizing instead of shopping for things that are not assets, trying to shop for things that actually are assets. Like if you got your retail therapy fix from buying things that would make you more money, then that's a great that you'll feel great about those purchases. Not always will that work, but yeah, I tend to get the same buzz, or in fact, a better buzz from investing into business or investing into crypto or investing into shares than I do from buying clothes, for example. As you can probably tell I'm no fashionista. Sometimes I will dress up, but really, like it comes down to food and business and jujitsu for me. I've kind of honed my life to simple things, um, and uh, and I really enjoy those things. And investing gives me the same buzz that buying toys used to, if that makes sense. I don't want a jet ski now. I want things that are going to generate money. All right, so yeah, let's get going. Let's read the book and see how we feel. Well, I'll be taking notes. Feel free to take your own notes or type things into the chat.
Anyone with a high school education can do it. Yet, most people won't. Most people listen to the standard advice of work hard and save money. For about 30 hours of work, approximately $190,000 was created in the asset column, and no taxes were paid. Which one sounds harder to you? 1. Work hard, pay 50% in taxes, save what is left, your savings, then earn 5%, which is also taxed. Or 2. Take the time to develop your financial intelligence, harness the power of your brain and the asset column. If you use option number 1, be sure to factor in how much time it takes you to save $190,000. Time is one of your greatest assets. Now, you may understand why I silently shake my head when I hear parents say, "My child is doing well in school and receiving a good education." It may be good, but is it adequate? I know the above investment strategy is a small one. It is used to illustrate how small can grow into big. Again, my success reflects the importance of a strong financial foundation, which starts with a strong financial education. I have said it before, but it's worth repeating. Financial intelligence is made up of these four main technical skills. 1. Accounting. Accounting is financial literacy, or the ability to read numbers. This is a vital skill if you want to build businesses or investments. 2. Investing. Investing is the science of money making money. 3. Understanding markets. Understanding markets is the science of supply and demand. Alexander Graham Bell gave the market what it wanted. So did Bill Gates. A $75,000 house offered for $60,000 that cost $20,000 was also the result of seizing an opportunity created by the market. Somebody was buying, and someone was selling. 4. The law. The law is the awareness of accounting, corporate, state, and federal regulations. I recommend playing by the rules. It is this basic foundation, or the combination of these skills, that is needed to be successful in the pursuit of wealth, whether it be through the buying of small homes, apartment buildings, companies, stocks, bonds, precious metals, baseball cards, or the like. A few years later, the real estate market rebounded and everyone else was getting in. The stock market was booming and everyone was getting in. The U.S. economy was getting back on its feet. I began selling and was now traveling to Peru, Norway, Malaysia, and the Philippines. The investment landscape had changed. We were no longer buying real estate. Now I just watched the values climb inside the asset column and will probably begin selling. I suspect that some of those 6 little house deals will sell and the $40,000 note will be converted to cash. I need to call my accountant to be prepared for cash and seek ways to shelter it. The point I would like to make is that investments come and go. The market goes up and comes down. Economies improve and crash. The world is always handing you opportunities of a lifetime, every day of your life, but all too often we fail to see them. But they are there. And the more the world changes and the more technology changes, the more opportunities there will be to allow you and your family to be financially secure for generations to come. So why bother developing your financial intelligence? Again, only you can answer that. I know why I continue to learn and develop. I do it because I know there are changes coming. I'd rather welcome change than cling to the past. I know there will be market booms and market crashes. I want to continually develop my financial intelligence because at each market change, some people will be on their knees begging for their jobs. Others, meanwhile, will take the lemons that life hands them, and we are all handed lemons occasionally, and turn them into millions. That's financial intelligence. I am often asked about the lemons I have turned into millions. I hesitate using many more examples of personal investments because I am afraid it comes across as bragging or tooting my own horn. That is not my intention. I use the examples only as numerical and chronological illustrations of actual and simple cases. I use the examples because I want you to know that it is easy. And the more familiar you become with the 4 pillars of financial intelligence, the easier it becomes. Personally, I use 2 main vehicles to achieve financial growth: real estate and small cap stocks. I use real estate as my foundation. Day in and day out, my properties provide cash flow and occasional spurts of growth and value. The small cap stocks are used for fast growth. I do not recommend anything that I do. The examples are just that, examples. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simple math and common sense are all you need to do well financially. There are 5 reasons for using examples. 1. To inspire people to learn more. 2. To let people know it is easy if the foundation is strong. 3. To show that anyone can achieve great wealth. 4. To show that there are millions of ways to achieve your goals. 5. To show that it's not rocket science. In 1989, I used to jog through a lovely neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It was a suburb that had little gingerbread houses. They were small and cute. I almost expected to see Little Red Riding Hood skipping down the sidewalk on her way to Granny's. There were for sale signs everywhere. The timber market was terrible. The stock market had just crashed, and the economy was depressed. On one street, I noticed a for sale sign that was up longer than most. It looked old. Jogging past it one day, I ran into the owner, who looked troubled. "What are you asking for your house?" I asked. The owner turned and smiled weakly. "Make me an offer," he said. "It's been for sale for over a year. Nobody even comes by anymore to look at it." "I'll look," I said, and I bought the house a half hour later for $20,000 less than his asking price. It was a cute little 2-bedroom home with gingerbread trim on all the windows. It was light blue with gray accents and had been built in 1930. Inside, there was a beautiful rock fireplace, as well as 2 tiny bedrooms. It was a perfect rental house. I gave the owner $5,000 down for a $45,000 house that was really worth $65,000, except that no one wanted to buy it. The owner moved out in a week, happy to be free, and my first tenant moved in, a local college professor. After the mortgage, expenses, and management fees were paid, I put a little less than $40 in my pocket at the end of each month. Hardly exciting. A year later, the depressed Oregon real estate market had begun to pick up. California investors, flush with money from their still booming real estate market, were moving north and buying up Oregon and Washington. I sold that little house for $95,000 to a young couple from California who thought it was a bargain. My capital gains of approximately $40,000 were placed into a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, and I went shopping for a place to put my money. In about a month, I found a 12-unit apartment house right next to the Intel plant in Beaverton, Oregon. The owners lived in Germany, had no idea what the place was worth, and again, just wanted to get out of it. I offered $275,000 for a $450,000 building. They agreed to $300,000. I bought it and held it for 2 years. Utilizing the same 1031 exchange process, we sold the building for $495,000 and bought a 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix, Arizona. We had moved to Phoenix by then to get out of the rain and needed to sell anyway. Like the former Oregon market, the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. The price of the 30-unit apartment building in Phoenix was $875,000, with $225,000 down. The cash flow from the 30 units was a little over $5,000 a month. The Arizona market began moving up, and a few years later, a Colorado investor offered us $1.2 million for the property. The point of this example is how a small amount can grow into a large amount. Again, it is a matter of understanding financial statements, investment strategies, a sense of the market, and the laws.
All right, that sounds like a good place to stop and have a bit of a chat. So, wow. Okay, so starting off in the chapter, he was talking about the 4 main areas for being successful in pursuit of wealth. So, accounting, investing, understanding markets, and the law, and all of that. Each of those is a mountain with no top. There are specialists who spend their whole life in those areas. And of course, you can lean on these people, but leaning on them and having no knowledge yourself doesn't tend to work in my experience. You need to have you need to be interested in those areas. And, you might have a view that accounting is boring, but to me, accounting has become super exciting. And it was just that I had kind of gotten I had a view. Okay, put it this way: at school, I thought education sucked. Okay, because school sucked for me. Like, as much as the teachers were actually fine and great, but I just had this kind of rebellious streak going on. So to me, school kind of sucked. Therefore, I decided that education sucked, and therefore it took me quite a while to actually start to personally develop myself at the completion of school. And I even went to uni and dropped out because I still had this view that education sucked. Now education is my favorite thing in the world. It's just like this thing that keeps on giving and giving, and I can't, when I wake up in the morning, it's like I'm excited to study. I study every morning for the first hour of my day on things that I don't know about. So then I got fascinated with numbers, accounting, how to do different methods of accounting. And I found systems like Profit First, which completely changed my view. Like I get very excited about accounting and numbers nowadays, and I'm still learning lots and lots and lots. But I'm interested. Okay, investing, money, making money. So yeah, to a lot of us, we don't really see investing as like it's more like hit and miss kind of gambling, if you like. But there's a lot to know. That's a mountain with no top, and there's niches of investing. Understanding markets, again, like I've been investing in crypto and all sorts of things for a long time, and I still don't fully understand the markets. And I'm always excited to learn more. And then there's the law. So the law is, again, people have views that it's complicated, it's hard to understand, etc. But if you break things down sentence by sentence, Google every word you don't understand, pretty soon you understand it. It's all, like standard agreements, standard terms. Sometimes they're not standard, but you can work them out. Okay. So yeah, and knowing the law so that you can play by the rules is important. And that's not just because you don't want to get in trouble, but it's also because there's opportunity hidden in those rules that favor the brave or the investors, etc. And yeah, part of the investment game, if cash is coming, let's say that you're going to sell something big and there is a big chunk of cash coming, part of the game is to make sure that you don't pay maximum tax on that. So you want to work out how to shelter it, how to move that money to the next investment or do something so that you don't get caught with a big tax bill, because that's eating into your profit. Okay. And why bother? Being at the source of your own motivation is key. It doesn't matter why, actually, as long as you're at the source of it. That does matter, I think. So asking, why do I like money, or why do I like investing? Let's say because it gives me security. Let's say that's your answer. Why do I like security? Well, I like security because, and you go down that rabbit hole. If you ask yourself the why question like 5 times, you're going to get to some pretty crazy answers. Some will be on their knees at times like this, and others will generate millions. So it's like, which one are you going to be? Some of us feel like we don't have a choice, but I like to think that we all have a choice. And until we breathe our last breath, I think we all have a choice all the time. Okay, even if we're sitting rotting in a jail cell, I still think we have choices that we can make in those moments. Find your own ways to generate wealth based on where you are strong, and then keep developing. So I was just sharing with one of my teams the other day. I remember when I was like 19 or something and got into Amway, and Tony Robbins was like motivationally speaking for Amway back then, and he was talking about and it stuck with me all of these years. What's that, 30 years or something. So constant and never-ending improvement. It actually, I don't know why it stuck with me, but it's still very relevant to this day. Constant and never-ending improvement. I like to say that things are a mountain with no top. That kind of resonates better with me nowadays. But constant and never-ending improvement is something which, like literally, how you make a cup of tea in the morning can be part of constant and never-ending improvement. There's always ways that you can improve what you do. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Yeah, investing and growing your wealth does not have to be rocket science. Look out for, so then he goes into, he's just buying this house. Okay. Look out for investment opportunities that have sat for a long time. Like that's when you have the power. It could be a business that's been sitting for ages, because people are surprisingly bad at selling. One of the things which I discover, I meet with, must be 50 businesses. No, I won't exaggerate. I meet with 25 businesses that I haven't met every week, at least. And then in doing so, I get to discover how bad they are at selling. And that's the area that I've chosen to kind of develop a strength, because I believe in selling above marketing. I believe in selling above, in fact, when do I have it? Where is my little thingamajig? The old thingamajig. Yeah, this is part of a book by Mike Michalowicz called Fix This Next. But what it talks about is this is like Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? But it's for selling, okay? Not for selling, for business, right? So what you've got at the very bottom is selling first, then profit, then order, then impact, and finally legacy. Like a lot of people try, and myself included, try and create their legacy first. But you can only create a certain amount of legacy when you don't have the funds and you don't have the foundation. So yeah, what I've learned and put into practice for myself is selling first. So I've become, like, I'm going to say masterful at selling. I've become masterful at selling, but even then, I don't want to get arrogant about that, because there's still a lot that I can learn. And so there'll be houses sitting on the market for ages and ages, or businesses sitting on the market that are perfectly good, but the people who are selling have not bothered to get interested in how to sell what they're selling, and therefore it probably won't move, or it'll be lucky if it does move. And that's your opportunity, right? So then you do a great deal and you make that deal cash flow positive because it's a great deal, and then you sit on it because it's not going backwards, it's going forwards, probably slower than you would hope for an investment. But if you pick the right investments, they will gain in value. And then, as I said before, then the idea is to shelter that capital gain so that you're maximizing your profit. If you cash out and go buy yourself a jet ski, then that's tax time. But if you take it and you put it into something else, you level up the game and you repeat that process. You level up the game and you repeat that process. I don't know if you remember the paperclip experiment. I have not ever Googled this, I don't think. So, paperclip experiment. Let's see. No, that's not it. Paperclip trade up experiment. Okay, here we go. One red paperclip. This is, like, everybody probably knows this story, but it's still pretty amazing to review. So Kyle McDonald traded his way from a single red paperclip to a house in a series of 14 online trades over the course of a year. McDonald was inspired by the childhood game Bigger, Better. His site received a considerable amount of notice for tracking the transactions. A lot of people have been asking how I've stirred up so much publicity around the project, and my simple answer is I have no idea. The story has inspired countless copycats who have attempted to trade their way up to something expensive with varying degrees of success. So he went from a red paperclip for a fish-shaped pen, then to a second-hand sculpted doorknob, then to a camp stove, then to a generator, then to an empty keg. On and on it goes until he ends up with a 2-story farmhouse. Like, that is ridiculous, right? So, in fact, I'm just going to put that into the chat. You should do, if you don't know that story, you should get familiar with it. It's very inspiring. And that is the kind of thing that you can do with investments, even if you're not asking. But you know why? Actually, what I would also say is that this guy, when he says he has no idea, I would say that the source of it is salesmanship. Okay, that is what selling is to me. It's about kind of enrolling people in this idea, having them come on board and buy into what it is that you're up to. That is selling. That's what I do all day long. I love it. Having people getting people inspired by their journey and the mission is a lot of fun. All right. So yeah, I think we can continue on. We're going to go on for another. Hey, Chris. How you going, brother? Thanks for dropping in and saying hello. Appreciate that, man. All right. All right. Let's get going.
If people are not versed in these subjects, then obviously they must follow standard dogma, which is to play it safe, diversify, and only invest in secure investments. The problem with secure investments is that they are often sanitized, that is, made so safe that the gains are less.
Mm.
Most large brokerage houses will not touch speculative transactions in order to protect themselves and their clients, and that is a wise policy. The really hot deals are not offered to people who are novices. Often, the best deals that make the rich even richer are reserved for those who understand the game. It is technically illegal to offer speculative deals to someone who is considered not sophisticated, but of course, it happens. The more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. Another case for developing your financial intelligence over a lifetime is simply.
That's awesome, Chris, man. I'm glad that you're here to soak in the knowledge, man. I love that. And I'm here to soak in your knowledge too, bro. So anything that comes up for you, chuck it in the chat. I definitely think that this is relevant in the crypto world as well. Like, beware of the sanitized investments, the ones that look fail safe, and the ones that are kind of presented to people in a way that, well, basically the returns are going to be potentially low, because if you're going to well, obviously you want safe investments that are going to go up over time. Like, I don't know, I don't even know what they are, to be honest with you, because everything in my life tends to be on a roller coaster. But it doesn't matter what. Like, I've even lost money in property, actually. Now that I think about it, I lost 100 grand in a property I bought once, but I had to sell it urgently, so that was my downfall. But the sanitized investments are the ones that most people get to see, and the good ones are kept behind closed doors. Hey, Vinny, awesome, man. I'm glad you got your pen and pad. That's very old school, bro. Love it, man. All right. Yeah, so we want to watch out for the sanitized investments. We want to watch out for, or we want to try and get access to the ones that are the more sophisticated investments, and then get interested in those. So learning or making contacts with the people who have access to the good stuff should be part of your mission.
That more opportunities are presented to you. And the greater your financial intelligence, the easier it is to tell whether a deal is good. It's your intelligence that can spot a bad deal or make a bad deal good. The more I learn, and there is a lot to learn, the more money I make simply because I gain experience and wisdom as the years go on. I have friends who are playing it safe, working hard at their profession and failing to gain financial wisdom, which does take time to develop. My overall philosophy is to plant seeds inside my asset column. That is my formula. I start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Inside our real estate corporation, we have property worth several $1 million. It is our own right, or real estate investment trust. The point I'm making is that most of those millions started out as little $5,000 to $10,000 investments. All of those down payments were fortunate to catch a fast rising market and increase tax-free. We traded in and out several times over a number of years. We also own a stock portfolio, surrounded by a corporation that Kim and I call our personal mutual fund. We have friends who deal specifically with investors like us who have extra money each month to invest. We buy high-risk, speculative private companies that are just about to go public on a stock exchange in the United States or Canada. An example of how fast gains can be made are 100,000 shares purchased for 25 cents each before the company goes public. 6 months later, the company is listed, and the 100,000 shares now are worth $2 each. If the company is well managed, the price keeps going up, and the stock may go to $20 or more per share. There are years when our $25,000 has gone to $1 million in less than a year. It is not gambling if you know what you're doing. It is gambling if you're just throwing money into a deal and praying. The idea in anything is to use your technical knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game to cut the odds down, to lower the risk. Of course, there is always risk. It is financial intelligence that improves the odds. Thus, what is risky for one person is less risky to someone else. That is the primary reason I constantly encourage people to invest more in their financial education than in stocks, real estate, or other markets. The smarter you are, the better chance you have of beating the odds.
Okay, that's
The
worth stopping
stock
for. That is a piece of gold right there. Okay, so yeah, wow. Okay, so first thing that got my attention there is good management causes businesses to rise in value. So you really want to be looking at the management team when you're thinking about investing in a business, a stock, a crypto. You want to know who is in the leadership positions because yeah, they are going, no one else is coming to save the day with these businesses, you know, so you really make sure you do your homework there. It's not gambling if you know what you're doing. And some people, like, gambling's not good, bad, right, wrong. The thing about gambling is it's risky. Okay, it's more risky, but you can cut the odds down and lower the risk. Having said that, there's always risk. But what I love about what he just said is if you invest in your education, like let's say you're investing $10,000 a year. Basically, if you invested 6,000 of those dollars a year in your education and 4,000 in projects or assets, you'd probably be better off. Okay, you're investing more in your own education. You are the asset. You are the investment. So I really love that, and definitely I'm going to subscribe to that. I'm going to take on more spending on my own education.
stock plays I personally invested in were extremely high risk for most people and absolutely not recommended. I have been playing that game since 1979 and have paid more than my share in dues. But if you will review why investments such as these are high risk for most people, you may be able to set your life up differently so that the ability to take $25,000 and turn it into $1 million in a year is low risk for you. As stated earlier, nothing I have written is a recommendation. It is only used as an example of what is simple and possible. What I do is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Yet, for the average individual, a passive income of more than $100,000 a year is nice and not hard to achieve. Depending on the market and how smart you are, it could be done in 5 to 10 years. If you keep your living expenses modest, $100,000 coming in as additional income is pleasant, regardless of whether you work. You can
Just think
work
about
if you
that for
like,
a second,
or
right?
take time
100K
off
a
if you choose.
year. This is old school too, this book. So back then, 100K was a lot more. But even just now, in the landscape of today, imagine $100,000 a year passive revenue based on your assets. Like I'm 49 now. I'm 49 in August. So in 5 to 10 years, if I really followed this model to a T, I could be earning 100K per annum, which is like another thing is if you've read the 4 Hour Work Week by what's his name? I can't remember. Tim Ferriss. He talks about how that like you can live really comfortably on $75,000, like really comfortably, like a millionaire. He calls it like the new rich on 75 grand a year if you know how to do this. So basically, you know if you're not tied up in the rat race, you can live on a very low number. And if that number was passive, you know what a life of freedom that is. Just living in Airbnbs, traveling the world, experiencing cultures, immersing yourself in learning languages. These are the sorts of things that are possible. And yeah, I could have that by the time I was 60, let's say. And 60 is very young in this modern era. So yeah, I really think that it's something to be considered. And the other thing he's talking about is keeping your comfort zone expanded. Like your comfort zone doesn't stay where it is. It's either growing or it's shrinking. You're either getting bigger in your ability to take risks or to do things, or smaller. You can't maintain a position. I'm sure of that. So the idea is to keep taking, you don't have to take big risks, but like right now, almost on the, well, probably 3 or 4 times a week, I'm buying small amounts of crypto. I'm talking real small because it's a risky time, but it keeps my comfort zones open. I'm saying, right, well, I'm gonna buy another $50 worth of Bitcoin or another $50 worth of this or that. So just small amounts, but keeping myself moving, keeping myself taking risks in a market where everyone's saying, no, the market's crap, it's all going to shit, whatever else, right? I keep myself alive through those times so that when the opportunity comes back, I haven't been just passively waiting. I'm not waiting for anything. I don't wait. And I hope that you choose to do the same. Like, there's always massive opportunities out there. All right, we've got another 9 minutes to go. Let's keep going and get through this chapter.
Choose and use the government tax system in your favor rather than against you. My personal basis is real estate. I love real estate because it's stable and slow moving. I keep the base solid. The cash flow is fairly steady and, if properly managed, has a good chance of increasing in value. The beauty of a solid base of real estate is that it allows me to take greater risks, as I do with speculative stocks. If I make great profits in the stock market, I pay my capital gains tax on the gain and then reinvest what's left in real estate, again, further securing my asset foundation. A last word on real estate. I have traveled all over the world and taught investing. In every city, I hear people say you cannot buy real estate cheap. That is not my experience. Even in New York or Tokyo, or just on the outskirts of the city, prime bargains are overlooked by most people. In Singapore, with their high real estate prices, there are still bargains to be found within a short driving distance. So whenever I hear someone say, "You can't do that here," pointing at me, I remind them that maybe the real statement is, "I don't know how to do that here, yet." Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes. They are seen with your mind. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunities right in front of them. I want
to share a quick story, even though we're tight for time. But like, I've been in the virtual assistant game for a very long time, 10 years, okay? More than 10 years, but a long time now. And only recently, after 10 years, has our business exploded. Like, I'm talking too much work for us to handle. And why that is not because of the market. It's not because of anything other than knowledge. Like, I literally read 2 books. Those 2 books gave me an access to basically running the business in a different way, and then an access to selling the business in a different way. So all I did was read 2 books. I've read a lot of books. So I had to read 100 books, let's say, to find those 2 books. But those 2 books made the difference. And then all of a sudden, like overnight, like I'm talking 6 months in comparison to 10 years, things have dramatically shifted in a way that I'm blown away. And why that's important is because if you had asked me, is there, what's it like to run a virtual assistant business? And you asked me that a year ago, my answer would be completely different. Like, it was like a side hustle, even though I'd been doing it for ages. It was a side hustle in comparison to what it is now. And the piece to that is, even myself, I consider myself like a thirsty for knowledge person. I only know what I know. And I'll probably tell you not to get into the virtual assistant game a year ago. And now, actually, I would say you can make anything rock if you've got the right knowledge, anything at all.
Asked, how do I start? In the final chapter of this audiobook, I offer 10 steps that I followed on the road to my financial freedom. But always remember to have fun. When you learn the rules and the vocabulary of investing and begin to build your asset column, I think you'll find that it's as fun a game as you've ever played. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you learn. But have fun. Most people never win because they're more afraid of losing. That is why I found school so silly. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad, and we are punished for making them. Yet if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk. The same is true for learning to ride a bike. I still have scars on my knees, but today I can ride a bike without thinking. The same is true for getting rich. Unfortunately, the main reason most people are not rich is because they are terrified of losing. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is part of the process of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success. I look at money much like my game of tennis. I play hard, make mistakes, correct, make more mistakes, correct, and I get better. If I lose the game, I reach across the net, shake my opponent's hand, smile, and say, "See you next Saturday."
Absolutely, Chris. I agree. It's not losing, it's another attempt at success. And then there's this other kind of business kind of buzzword, if you like, that's come out in the last few years, and I love it: fail faster. So, the idea of creating a model that fails on purpose is now a really empowering way to go about it. You want to fail. You want to push the bounds of failure as quickly as you can so that you can either abandon or come up with a new way and make that work. Too many people go in with that they're sure they've got the idea that's going to work rather than the view of let's fail as fast as we can so that we can evolve.
There are two kinds of investors. One, the first and most common type is a person who buys a packaged investment. They call a retail outlet, such as a real estate company, a stockbroker, or a financial planner, and they buy something. It could be a mutual fund, a right, a stock, or bond. It is a clean and simple way of investing. An analogy would be a shopper who goes to a computer store and buys a computer right off the shelf. 2. The second type is an investor who creates investments. This investor usually assembles a deal in the same way a person who buys components builds a computer. I do not know the first thing about putting components of a computer together, but I do know how to put pieces of opportunities together, or know people who know how. It is this second type of investor who is the more professional investor. Sometimes it may take years for all the pieces to come together, and sometimes they never do. It is this second type of investor that my rich dad encouraged me to be. It is important to learn how to put the pieces together, because that is where the huge wins reside, and sometimes some huge losses if the tide goes against you. If you want to be the second type of investor, you need to develop three main skills. These skills are in addition to those required to become financially intelligent. 1. Find an opportunity that everyone else missed. You see with your mind what others miss with their eyes. For example, a friend bought this run-down old house. It was spooky to look at. Everyone wondered why he bought it. What he saw that we did not was that the house came with 4 extra empty lots. He discovered that after going to the title company. After buying the house, he tore the house down and sold the 5 lots to a builder for 3 times what he paid for the entire package. He made $75,000 for 2 months of work.
Nice.
It's not a lot of money, but it sure beats minimum wage, and it's not technically difficult. 2. Raise money. The average person only goes to the bank.
Raise
This
mother.
second type of investor needs to know how to raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. To get started, I learned how to buy houses without a bank. It was the learned skill of raising money more than the houses themselves that was priceless. All too often, I hear people say, "The bank won't lend me money," or "I don't have the money to buy it." If you want to be a type 2 investor, you need to learn how to do that which stops most people. In other words, a majority of people let their lack of money stop them from making a deal. If you can avoid that obstacle, you will be millions ahead of those who don't learn those skills. There have been many times I have bought a house, a stock, or an apartment building without a penny in the bank. I once bought an apartment house for $1.2 million. I did what is called tying it up with a written contract between seller and buyer. I then raised the $100,000 deposit, which bought me 90 days to raise the rest of the money. Why did I do it? simply because I knew it was worth $2 million. I never raised the money. Instead, the person who put up the $100,000 gave me $50,000 for finding the deal, took over my position, and I walked away. Total working time? 3 days. Again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying. It's more a case of knowing. 3. Organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who is more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, make sure you choose your advisor wisely. There is a lot to learn, but the rewards can be astronomical. If you do not want to learn those skills, then being a Type 1 investor is highly recommended. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. There is always risk, so learn to manage risk instead of avoiding it.
All right. I always feel super inspired, and I really appreciate your contributions this morning, Chris and Vinny, and anybody else who contributed. Just really great to have that kind of group chat going. And this is the thing, like this is not new knowledge. There's nothing new under the sun, but representing ourselves to the opportunities that are out there are great. Whether or not you're flipping burgers right now, you don't have a job right now, or you're a multimillionaire, it's all good. Like there's always stuff to learn and share and contribute to. So I'm gonna, on that note, wish you guys an amazing weekend ahead, and thank you again. And let's do it all again next week, shall we? Sounds like fun. All right, peace out.